Hey everyone, I'm Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today, let's talk about a common sight in many homes, hoarding stuff. It's that feeling of seeing something and thinking, oh, this might be useful someday, and before you know it, the house is filled with old newspapers, plastic bags, expired coupons, maybe even clothes from 10 years ago. This phenomenon has a specific name in psychology, hoarding disorder. Why do people love hoarding so much? There are reasons. First, the tendency to save things is incredibly common, practically etched into human genes. In ancient times, our ancestors lived in the wild. Food wasn't guaranteed every day, and wild beasts could appear any time. Finding food, hiding it well, and collecting useful tools were matters of survival. Those who were especially good at hoarding and had a strong sense of crisis were more likely to survive famines, harsh winters, or dangers, passing those genes down to us. That urge to keep things just in case they come in handy someday is essentially an instinctive legacy from our ancestors, buried deep in our bones. Even though modern society doesn't worry about the next meal, this better safe than sorry instinct remains. It's just that the objects have shifted from food and animal hides to discount toilet paper, pretty packaging boxes, or items snatched up during sales. Beyond normal collecting, for some people, this behavior becomes severe, turning into hoarding disorder, where stuff piles up so high it's hard to walk. Psychologists find the core issues often lie in security and emotional connection. If someone has experienced extremely difficult times like war, extreme poverty, or the loss of something very important, including loved ones or relationships, it can leave a huge void inside, filled with a fear of scarcity. Hoarding things, especially items that seem to offer basic security like food or daily necessities or memory, filled objects like letters or old toys, becomes an attempt to desperately fill that void. It's like building a wall of security with physical objects. The more stuff they have, the safer they feel, as if it can ward off external uncertainties and internal anxieties. It's like a little turtle carrying a heavy shell awkward to move, but feeling safe. There's also an interesting psychological trap called the endowment effect. Simply put, once something belongs to you, you unconsciously add a halo to it, perceiving it as extra important or valuable, even if it looks like junk to others. For example, a chipped coffee cup, because it was a gift from a friend or bought with your first paycheck, feels irreplaceable. Throwing it away feels like cutting off a limb. This makes decluttering incredibly hard. We often tie an item's value to our emotions, memories, even our self-worth. Discarding old things can feel like discarding a part of ourselves. The classic line from Fight Club hits the nail on the head. The things you own end up owning you. Things are meant to serve us, but we become their slaves, busy organizing, storing, and maintaining them. Our living space and mental space become crammed full. While ancient China didn't have the exact term hoarding disorder, traditional Chinese medicine theory long ago recognized the connection between this behavior and physical mental health. TCM emphasizes body and mind as one. Physical problems affect mood, and emotional fluctuations affect the body. Hoarding in TCM is often linked to two key issues: the liver and the spleen. In TCM, the liver isn't just for detox. It's more responsible for managing the smooth flow of qi throughout the body, like a traffic cop directing flow. It's also closely tied to emotions, especially anger, depression, and anxiety. Those stack feelings, when under prolonged stress, feeling down, or obsessively clinging to certain thoughts, liver qi stagnation occurs, like a traffic jam. This stuck state makes people stubborn and inflexible. Reflected in hoarding, it means tightly holding onto items, believing each has its necessary order or future value, not letting anyone touch them, and fearing change and loss of control. This stubbornness is an outward manifestation of inner emotional gridlock. The other key player is the spleen. The TCM spleen manages digestion and absorption, but it also governs the function of transformation and transportation, not just digesting food, but also transforming fluids and processing thoughts. If you constantly worry, overthink, or fret excessively, it injures the spleen due to overthinking. When spleen function weakens, it's like the body's metabolic engine slowing down. Phlegm, dampness, or food stagnation may build internally. Externally, this manifests as hoarding, a house piled high with clutter, mirroring the body's internal transformation dysfunction where waste can't be expelled. The famous Qing dynasty physician the Tianqi recorded a case of a wealthy merchant who hoarded massive amounts of grain, letting it rot and get infested with insects, refusing to sell because he thought its value would rise. The Tianchi diagnosed him as a classic case of overthinking injures the spleen, stagnation damages the liver. His prescription was the formula, Xiaoxian, to soothe the liver and relieve stagnation. Coupled with this advice, stagnated objects are like stasis. Only by removing the old can you accept the new, meaning things piled up for too long are like stagnant blood in the body. Only by clearing out the old and useless can you make room for the new and good. This isn't just about cleaning a room, it's about clearing inner obsessions. Ancient Chinese society's attitude towards hoarding was also quite interesting. Our traditional culture highly revered frugality and cherishing objects. Sayings like, "For every bowl of rice and porridge, remember how hard it came by. For every half strand of silk or thread, constantly think of the labor involved" are well known. Cherishing things was a virtue, fundamental to managing a household. However, the ancients were also keenly aware of the blurry line between frugality and pathological hoarding. The great scholar Zhu, she said in his family instructions, "Utensils, if substantial and clean, earthenware surpasses gold and jade," meaning household items need only be practical and clean. Even earthen pots are better than rooms filled with useless gold and jewels. He emphasized practicality and tidiness, not more is better. Earlier, in the Han Dynasty texts Discourses on Salt and Iron, wealthy merchants were directly criticized for hiding rotten grain in granaries, accumulating old cloth in warehouses, hoarding grain until it rots and cloths until it yellows. This wasn't just seen as a personal quirk. It was pointed out as disrupting markets, destabilizing prices, and ultimately harming ordinary people. The ancients saw early on that excessive hoarding could cause social problems. Interestingly, many famous historical figures secretly had hoarder tendencies. The Ming Dynasty had an avid book lover named Mao Jin. How much did he love books? He spared no expense buying them everywhere, eventually building a massive library called the Jiguje, said to hold up to 80,000 volumes. This was undoubtedly a top-tier private library of its time. Loving and collecting books is, of course, good. It preserves culture. But Mao Jin, in his later years, sighed, "Books pile like mountains pressing on my spine. I haven't read one in 10,000, yet they burden me instead. See, even the most beautiful things, once beyond control, turn from nourishment for the spirit into a heavy physical and psychological burden, losing their original meaning." Fast forward to modern times, the era of consumerism. After the Industrial Revolution, machine production made goods abundant and cheap. To sell more, businesses deeply implanted an idea in our heads. Having more equals greater happiness. Possessing material goods equals success. This wave was particularly strong in Victorian England, where a cabinet of curiosities rooms were popular. Wealthy homes dedicated a room packed with strange collections, specimens from around the world, fine porcelain, antiques, stuffed for not for use, but just for showing off. Today, from mail order catalogs of the past to Amazon orders at the click of a finger, shopping has become incredibly convenient, almost effortless. The moment you click pay, the brain releases dopamine, giving a brief flash of pleasure. But this happiness is fleeting, like a firework. Soon, emptiness may set in, prompting the desire to buy the next thing to fill it. This creates a happiness, emptiness, rubaya cycle. Facing this suffocation, wisdom from both East and West offers antidotes to excessive materialism. In China, Confucianism has always advocated frugality. Confucius said in the Analects, "Extravagance leads to arrogance. Frugality to meanness. But rather than be arrogant, I prefer to be mean." He believed controlling material desires and pursuing inner cultivation and morality were the true sources of happiness. Buddhism, especially Chinese Chan, provided practical models for danchari. The famous Tang Dynasty monk Beijing Weihai established the monastery rule, a day without work, a day without food. This wasn't just advocating labor. Its deeper meaning was to break dependence on material things. True practitioners lived extremely simply, possessions perhaps just a few robes and a begging bowl, truly achieving owning nothing. Through simple living and work, they freed their minds from attachment to external objects. There's a Nordic concept called Swedish death cleaning. This isn't something morbid, but a very clear-eyed, even gentle approach to life. It encourages people, especially the elderly, to start sorting through and discarding items they no longer need or love while they are still healthy and mentally clear. Its core idea is very practical. Don't kid yourself that anyone will want to deal with stuff you couldn't be bothered with, no matter how much they love you. This is actually deep care for family, sparing loved ones the burden of clearing out overwhelming clutter and emotional baggage after one's passing. It's also an elegant way to say goodbye. So, for friends already struggling with hoarding, what practical solutions exist? We can approach it from multiple angles. In psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy has proven very effective. It helps hoarders identify and challenge irrational thoughts like, I will absolutely need this someday, or I regret it forever if I throw this out. Therapists guide patients through reality testing, for example, keeping dozens of plastic bags just in case, but only using 2 or 3 in a year. Through such exercises, they slowly break the powerful mental spell of what if it's useful. Another method is exposure therapy, starting by discarding the smallest, least important item, like a scrap of paper, helps the person get used to the feeling of loss and anxiety. Difficulty is gradually increased, helping the patient realize that discarding things does not lead to disastrous consequences. From a TCM perspective, the approach is to soothe the liver and relieve stagnation, and fortify the spleen and calm the spirit. Common formulas include Shai San to regulate liver qi and ease depression, anxiety, and Gupi Tunks to fortify the spleen, nourish blood to calm the mind, and improve overthinking. Beyond herbal medicine, gentle exercises like Baduan Jin are very beneficial. Its movements coordinated with breathing help harmonize qi and blood unblock meridians and alleviate anxiety, indirectly helping reduce hoarding impulses driven by anxiety. TCM emphasizes shifting focus and changing nature, redirecting attention away from objects towards cultivating healthier interests and hobbies. The popular Japanese organizing consultant Marie Kondo proposed the KonMari method, advocating to keep only items that spark joy, thanking and letting go of the rest. This method is effective for mild hoarding or general tidying. However, experts caution that for true severe hoarding disorder, forcing discarding can backfire. As Randy Frost, co-author of Stuff, Compulsive Hoarding and the Meaning of Things, points out, if those possessions are the patient's total shelf for survival, forcibly removing it may cause greater psychological harm. Therefore, the key is first to understand and resolve the deep-seated psychological issues, emotional trauma, or lack of security. Once the inner knots are untied, dealing with the objects becomes smoother. From the TCM view of internal imbalance caused by liver qi stagnation and spleen deficiency impairing transformation, to Jushi's advocacy for practical frugality over blind accumulation. From the sigh of the book collector Mao Jin crushed under his mountain of books, to the lucid Swedish death cleaning of Nordic elders, we see that hoarding, whether mild or severe, is essentially a human effort to grasp something tangible in this uncertain and insecure world, seeking safety and a sense of existence. It's like an anchor for the soul, but sometimes this anchor becomes too heavy and sinks the boat. After the arduous task of clearing his mother's hoarded belongings, Frost gained a profound insight. Anything that isn't used or cared for becomes clutter. An object's value lies in our interaction with it, in whether it serves our lives. So, what is the true solution? Perhaps the Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi, over 2,000 years ago, already provided the answer: master things, without being mastered by things. We must be the masters of our possessions, not the other way around. Next time you feel the urge to bring home something that might be useful, or face a pile of clutter you can't bring yourself to clear, ask yourself a startling yet revealing question. If an emergency happened tomorrow, forcing me to flee this home immediately, taking only a very few things, what would I take? The answer to this question can instantly cut through the fog of materialism, showing you what is truly irreplaceable in your life. Is it health, photos of family, a feeling of freedom, or love? The answer, truly, is in your heart. I am Amber. Catch you next time.